Hello, my friends. This is Kari, and I am coming to you today with a little bit of a look over a video, basically providing my thoughts on something. And I want to tell you that normally I would not go for such low hanging fruit, but in this case, um, because it pertains to sectors of the market that pertain to me, and I've been a follower of the content, it's important that I can at least point out a few things that I see. More importantly, we're not going to look at the drama going on. What we're going to be doing is looking at the apology. In fact, it doesn't even feel like an apology. And you'll see what I mean. I'm going to do my best not to go through the entire video. I feel like that's kind of unnecessary. You can watch it for yourself. I'll leave a link in the description. But it, you'll get to see and understand what I'm talking about.
I think Luke put it best at the roast a few years ago when he said,
"Why the f are you here?"
that's a two-part answer. I'm speaking today because of the recent community outcry demanding change. I'm here because I agree with the community. We do have a lot of work to do. Before we talk about that, while I wish us on better terms, I just want to say I'm very glad to meet you all. I have spent the last couple decades on the corporate side, but my educational background is in computer science. My first role in the tech industry was as the writer at NeoSeeker. My history building gaming PCs goes even further back, to when I built a Celeron 300A rig because everyone assured me it was guaranteed to overclock to 450 megahertz. I guess my trip didn't really get the memo. In any case, it feels really good to be back, on most days. I'm only 6 weeks into the job, but in that time I've seen a lot. I've looked at some budgeting, some team building, and operations. But my main focus has been to be a fly on the wall and gain an understanding of what's going right and what's going wrong. There's a lot of both. I've asked the team to unflinchingly address both the concerns that have been raised and how we intend to fix them. With the money we'll make.
Let me back up here just for a moment because I jumped over something.
Team to unflinchingly address both the concerns that have been raised and how we intend to fix them. With the money we'll make from our sponsor.
Okay, look. First off, you're a new CEO, 6 weeks on the job. I get it. You probably haven't really had the time to stretch your legs or do anything that seemed to be important. However, and I stress this as a big however, um, you're still responsible for the company in which you're leading. It doesn't matter how little time you've had to actually be on the job, you're still responsible. And with that being said, I in one aspect I feel bad for him. And that's mostly because while he's technically at the top of the ladder, he has someone who is both his subordinate and his superior at the same time, kind of providing direction for the company. Linus, the namesake of the company. Kind of weird. Like, how are you subordinate to the CEO, but also superior to the CEO as the owner? Like, I get that you have to work alongside and you're not running any specific things, but come on. Come on. That that was a big mistake to start with, and I saw this coming down the road when Linus pointed out that he was no longer going to be the CEO. He was going to be the CVO. What the hell is a chief vision officer? Like, I get his explanation for it. It makes some sense, but chief vision officer? You couldn't have come up with a better title than that? How about chief planning organizer or officer or whatever? Something different, you know? All right. And then right there at the end where he's like, "Well, like the money you'll save from our sponsor." Like, this is an apology video. That's uncalled for. You don't do that. I don't care what it is. You don't joke around in an apology video. This already starts off with the air of the BP South Park meme where it's, "We're sorry." Only it's Canadian, so it's, We're sorry. I mean, come on. Come on. Let's keep our heads straight as to what the point is. Now, I also want to point out that this is a 21-minute apology video. They essentially rolled out the entire cast of the OG crew just to apologize for the various points in which they had failings. Like, just because one person screwed up, everyone's got to bite the bullet, and I get it, that's kind of how a team works, but not everyone's got to be put in front of a camera. And you'll see. We can, for the most part, we can skip over Yvonne's point out here. She does say, oh, that's a joke about the sponsor thing. I get it. But Yvonne's take is, we're slowing down, and we're going to move on, and we're going to figure it out, and we're not going to do any videos until we have it all sorted out, which means we're going to miss videos for the next few weeks. Like, I don't care if you put out one video a week. I don't care if you put out 100 videos a week. There is a point at which you can't watch them all, or you don't care to watch them all. You're not a variety channel. You're not a comedy channel. Though Channel Super Fun really does need to come back. I will say that. And that's something I miss, but them being more corporatized, I can understand. It's not a thing anymore. Whatever. So, slowing down, totally get it. Changing your tactics, totally get it. On board. But when it comes down to it, y'all should have slowed down a long time ago. And Gamers Nexus does a better explanation of this, and I implore you to go look at their videos on the topic. They've done a lot of raining hellfire on Linus Tech Tip, Linus Media Group. Right now, all I'm focusing on is this video. So we'll go on this video. Let's talk about Gary, the head of labs.
I'm Gary, head of labs. First off, we've made some mistakes. Too many. We're hoping that it's how we deal with them moving forward that will define who we are.
Hi, Gary. My name's Djinn. And when it comes down to it, making mistakes is part of the process of learning. And while no one can get things right all the time, it's totally understood if sometimes you have to fail. Now, when it comes down to it, why are you on camera? What did you do that really made it necessary to put you on camera? And I'm going to tell you, because I've seen this part of it already, only thing he did was supposedly provide inaccurate results for video cards and other data points. And I go, I get it. You guys are reviewer channels. Like, a percentage point here and there kind of makes a big deal. But why'd you gotta drag this guy out on camera? This guy, right now, looks like the most awkward person to be put out in front of a camera. I'm not gonna lie, the rest of this is awkward, and you're gonna get back to Cringe Town.
And regardless, it's clear that we need to serve you better. So our team will be spending our week publishing living documents for our testing standards and opening them up to feedback from the community and our peers in the industry.
Why was that not done to start with when the labs was created? Like, having standards is a necessary requirement. Now, I've talked about how in a previous video that I lead a team. My team has standards that are very pointed out, very obvious. And I made sure that every person on my team understood what those standards were. So failing to create standards from the start, that just means you don't know what you're doing. And to be honest, I get it now, but that's still not something that you have to create an apology video for. Just clean up your act and move on.
They wish to participate. We will also task part of the team with going back through every video with labs data to ensure accuracy, make full corrections, And if there are any fundamental issues with the workflow design or results, pull or replace that video outright.
Oh boy. You do not realize the amount of work that you have just created for yourself, because as time moves on, you cannot recreate that data. You cannot recreate those tests. And when we're talking about LTT specifically, oh, there are some scenarios in which were a little spicy in their testing on how they had to test things. The best way to go about this, and in my opinion, how they should have gone about this, is we screwed up. We're sorry. We will do it better. Let me show you how we will do it going forward. And if you have any points that you want to put in, please tell us.
I don't agree with every criticism that's been leveled at my team, but for my part, I need to own what we've done wrong and lay out our action plan for how to move forward.
All right. When I first saw this video, the first thing that I totally was distracted by was the fact that in his right hand, he has a remote. Now, I'm pretty sure that remote controls a what is that called? A prompter. Which tells me he didn't know what he was going to say before he said it. And he has to read every last part of it. And he's doing his best here to make it seem natural. The part that bothers me is that you start to look at all of the people on this video, and they all are doing the same thing. Reading from a prompter. I get it. Not everyone is fluid on the microphone. Hell, in this video, I've already slipped up at least 6 or 7 times. But you know what? Slipping up, failing, that's natural. And people appreciate naturality over perfection. See, there you go. I just messed up again, and I just pointed it out. I could have went right through it, and no one would have been the wiser. But you know what? I pointed it out. Why? So that you could appreciate it. Anyway, let's move on.
Before I do that, one point I do need to address here is that Linus misspoke when he said we retest for every video. We retest for every project.
It wasn't Linus that said that we retest for every video. Anyway, let's move on. Let's go to James.
It's going to be a busy week of not making videos.
Same goes for us. I'm James, head of the writing department. We are extremely grateful for everything the lab has done and continues to do to make our jobs easier. But the actual testing is not the biggest source of our recent struggles. It's the human factor. There have been times when an internal video review caught an incorrect graph, resulting in new versions of the graph being created, only for those new graphs to not be put in the video.
Yeah, that's frustrating. When you have updated pieces of information and you make sure to pass it along to whoever it needs to go to, and that person just uses the old information, that gets annoying and it gets really bothersome. In this case, I have to agree. Now, when it comes to James's only job is to make sure that he has a script ready for the team. Now, for a review channel, why would you need a script? Is it because you've already tested it and you know how it's going to react on every scenario, and in a live environment where you're recording the events going on, you'll know exactly how things go? Okay, that makes sense. But what if you're not and you're just offhandedly improvising like what the LTT team is known for? Do you really need a script? Not saying his job is pointless, just saying it's a little redundant. And I get it. You're going to hear me say that a lot. I do get why their failures happen. It's a totally natural thing, and I'm not excusing it in the least. But when it comes down to it, this is a very big nothing burger, and I don't understand why everyone is attacking this low-hanging fruit. In fact, it's hurting not just LMG, it's hurting other companies like Framework, for example, who Linus does have an interest in. But we'll get onto that in the future.
Just about every error that has appeared in a video in the past year has directly resulted in a process change designed to prevent that specific issue from ever happening again. But this kind of problem pops up, create a new process, whack-a-mole, isn't working. We'll be using our time to take feedback from our team on all of our processes and comb through all of our pending projects for areas where we can improve as we move forward with our reduced upload schedule. You'll see some.
That was very corporate speak for we're going to review our internal processes and determine what is supposedly not working, and then ignore all the other solutions that are going to pass by my desk. It's just going to happen. We can move on from here.
Community members.
I'm Ed, head of our production team.
Oh, poor Ed. You've been here since the start, and they're now rolling you out in front of the camera instead of behind it. And unfortunately, this is not a good thing. His whole deal is editing and like making sure that the shots are lined up right, and making sure that the people who are getting those shots are properly scheduled, and making sure that there is a schedule for shooting and that the sets are correct. Like, his whole thing is the theater of what you see. Nothing on the testing. Editing? Sure. That's part of his job. Making sure that the correct stats are there is there. But further up the chain should have made, in the chain of the production, should have made sure that they were using the correct data to begin with. But alongside this, Ed looks like he hasn't aged a day since the start. But beyond this, you'll see quite a few times where where something will reflect in his glasses, and it's a prompter, which means he didn't also know what he was going to say before he was going to say it. And it's unfortunate too.
We have some of the most comprehensive documentation and processes in the company, from automations to keep project information accurate, to communication procedures, to standards for how loud videos can be. Those systems have helped with the video edit side of things, but I've seen some examples where
Right there. That's a prompter.
we've failed to see the forest for the trees and allowed well-edited but erroneous content to slip through the cracks. So for our part, we'll be spending our time looking at how we can improve communication to help the team address anything that seems off as soon as possible. A personal task for me will be putting the finishing touches on some cool ways we can make.
He's just stuck reading everything just to make sure. Now, of all the people that have been on a camera right now, he's the one that's the most natural. However, come on. This is an apology video. You're not the president. You're not well, let's move on from that point, because I could get into the politics of things. But you're not expected to create a public address. Though this is a type of public address, but it's one that should go from the heart, not the mind. You shouldn't have to write an apology. You should be able to speak an apology if you are truly sorry for what you have done. Anyway, let's skip through Nick and back to Taryn and move on to Colton. Oh boy.
Upon.
And so will I. I'm Colton, the head of business development, which includes departments like HR, procurement, logistics, events, and sales and marketing. Sponsorships specifically are an area where Linus has more limited oversight than he used to, and in my opinion, we haven't done a great job conveying that. It's up to my team to vet incoming sponsor requests and deal with issues that you, our viewers, have with our brand partners. One way we do that is using our LMG sponsor discussion subforum on linustechtips.com to create a dialogue between our business team and the community. It's obvious from some of the issues we're seeing that we need to be more communicative when we're actively working with brands to rectify issues. Most content creators can attest to the fact that brands sometimes take forever to respond to messages or address problems. A perfect example is Anchor not removing Linus Tech Tips from their Amazon pages, even though we've been asking to be removed since our partnership with them ended months ago. We work hard to push for accountability, but we also understand that these businesses are either large with lots of moving parts or small with limited resources. So things can take time, but you shouldn't be waiting in the dark. It's critical for us to get the sponsorship piece right because real talk, you guys are the boss. If you're not happy with brands we work with, you won't engage with our sponsors and suddenly we won't be able to support all the cool stuff we're currently able to do. Moving forward then, you can expect weekly updates in the subforum on issues that need addressing, and we'll also include an up-to-date list of product verticals that are off limits for our channels.
All right, like, I get it. This is their attempt to be like, hey, we're sorry, we didn't do the right thing here, and we're gonna move on. But don't forget, we have a subforum and we have a forum that you can communicate with us on, and we're gonna make sure that our communications are correct and that other partners are following along suit with that. But yeah, no, that's not what we're here for. We're here to see you apologize. And we're getting to that.
We hope this will enable us to make better calls consistently from here on out, all while maintaining our longtime commitment to transparency. Finally, I want to apologize to Billet Labs for auctioning off their monoblock at LTX 2023.
Finally, we're at the apology. This was the whole thing, the whole reason for why this video was created, and it's 13 minutes in. 7 minutes from the end. We had to wade through 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 segments and an additional 2 minutes to get to the actual apology. No. This is not an apology video. What this is safe face time, which is why I'm calling it out for being so fake.
Our processes failed when I was selecting items to include in the charity auction, but then it was compounded because when the issue was brought up to me via email, even though I replied 2 hours later apologizing and offering to pay for the component, I forgot to actually include our contact in that email. So,
ouch. Okay. Legitimate screw up here. And he's calling himself out for it. Totally understand. This is an apology. This is how you do it. You identify the problem, you express where you're going to change, and you put in place a process to make sure that that change happens. This is how you apologize. The prior 13 minutes to this portion of the video, entirely unnecessary. Entirely unnecessary. Or, if it must be included, it is either included in the end of the video, as in afterwards, or included an entirely different video showing how the apology leads to the process. That is how you do it. This is safe face. This is put enough padding before the apology to make sure that everyone ignores it and tunes out by the time that they hit minute 2. So that when we actually apologize, it won't look or sound so fake. However, in this case, Colton, the actual guilty party, actually is sorry. So, in this case, I have nothing to argue about. However, the part I have problems with is all the other stuff before it. And, in the case of what we're coming up to next, everything afterwards. So, we'll leave Colton alone. He kind of makes an offhanded joke about how he's always fired or going to get fired. That's kind of an in-joke between him and Linus. And I find it kind of cute, but to be honest, at this point, it's getting old. And you'll see the result of that.
it went to our procurement team instead of Billet Labs. Side note, that same team, God bless them, didn't ask our event team who won the silent auction items and proceeded to email everyone asking. We don't need any of that. Certainly not for tax purposes. I clearly need to spend some of my week training the team. unless I actually get fired for real this time. Moving forward, we'll be implementing a more rigid process for separating items that need to go.
There's the one half of the joke. And we're going to skip over Luke, because honestly, Luke, I wouldn't even consider as part of the whole thing. Sure, he's been part of LTT since the beginning. They had a brief split off when they were creating Float Plane, and he's been managing the Float Plane portion of the company. And to be honest, I love Luke. I would watch Luke alone. But seeing as how he doesn't get on camera very often, and the only times I get to see him on camera is when he's around Linus, I'm not really all that interested. So we're going to move on from there and go on to Linus's portion. You know, the headline of the company.
A number of times.
And let's face it, he's gonna fail again. Hey, it's me. I'm Chief Vision Officer now, but realistically,
When you have to use quotes for your own title, you know that you chose the wrong title for the position you created. Like, pick something else.
I'm not gonna be able to hide behind my recent demotion here. I was the one at the head of the company for each and every mistake that our community has rightly brought to our attention. And once again, I made things worse by allowing myself to respond emotionally. It's honestly really hard when people take an internal process error and then they run that all the way to Linus is a thief and wants to auction someone else's intellectual property to the highest bidder, or accuses me of trying to brush something under the rug just because I do think it's important to get all the details before declaring me to be a low-down liar, straight-up piece of
Oh, but Linus, you are those things. You are a scummy person who lies, cheats, and will honestly not care about who you step on in the process of getting your company to do what you want. It's inappropriate, and I get tired of hearing it all the time. I stopped watching their videos or even caring about their videos years ago. But there was one video I paid special attention to, and that is the framework video. The one where he admits to the fact that he is investing within framework and that he wanted to have transparency, that he is investing in them and he will review the products appropriately. Well, we've only seen 2 videos about framework since that day, and both of them were put into very favorable lights. So I took him at his word, which probably was my first mistake. But it really wasn't that much of a mistake because the product is actually good. I enjoy my laptop. I purchased a Framework 13-inch laptop on the middle end, and for transparency, it cost me about $2,000. Was it worth it? Yeah, absolutely worth it. Did it have all the bells and whistles I probably could have spent for a gaming laptop? No. But I wasn't really worried so much about gaming, in which you're probably going, but you're doing gaming on this computer too, right? Yes, and I can do so with an eGPU, which is connected to this computer as well. And I do that so that this way, if I ever need to change my hardware, I can do so and keep the same GPU. Or if I need to change the GPU, I can change the GPU and keep the laptop. While it's not a perfect system, and to be honest, I would have preferred to go to the new 16-inch framework, which has the integrated graphics card or swappable graphics card in it, I'm not too totally concerned until I have to actually upgrade, like change form factors. At this point, I'm pseudo locked into the 13-inch market, and I may try to find a way to get rid of my laptop right now, but as it stands, I like my laptop. I enjoy it. It's small, it's easy to use, and it's pretty stylish. Not that that really even matters. But moving on from that, that was the one moment in which I went, maybe he's not all terribly bad. Because he was transparent, and he did link me up to a type of hardware that I wanted. Something that was modular, easy to repair, and secure. But in this case, he's creating an apology video, and he's pointing out how he isn't all those things, whereas there's lots of evidence to the contrary. Let's be honest here. I could probably go through all of his videos and point out all the times in which he's been scummy or mean or annoying on camera to his employees. And to be honest, you could excuse it as, oh, he's playing it up for the camera. Yeah, but he is that kind of person. He is that kind of person. And I don't jive with those kind of people. While also, I don't feel like it takes. I feel like a good person could not run a company, run a company well. You kind of have to have a bad side. So, in some ways, I understand where he is, and I understand his mentality on things. I just don't excuse it. But that's neither here nor there. We're talking about a non-apology video, which turned out to be somewhat of an apology video. But when it comes down to it, the person who has to own this problem is him, not his subordinates.
We were slow shipping back the GPU that Billet Labs sent us. There's no way around it. That's our bad. But the delay in communication, the one that prompted the post that you guys just saw, it was less than 2 business days. The second that I was made aware of the situation, on the 14th, I emailed Billet Labs and I explained what happened. I even included Colton's attempt at apologizing and offering, no questions asked, full compensation for their stated value of the product.
The company hadn't provided a stated value. This is where it gets scummy, right? So he's saying a bunch of things that sound nice because he thinks that by the time this video comes out, or by the time that this video hits the mainstream, all of this will have been settled. In which, at the moment in which I am recording this video, which is a day after it's been posted, and this video has hit the mainstream, it still has not been resolved, and they have not been compensated. So, that being said, there's a lot of back and forth here, a lot of drama, which I told you I was not going to be covering, that hasn't been resolved and will not be resolved for quite some time. So the fact that he is putting that in the video that, oh, I've done these things, whereas they haven't been done yet and haven't been completed yet, shows kind of how scummy he is. That he's willing to openly lie so long as in the future he can't get caught out for it. I know people like him. And to be honest, I can tell you, I don't appreciate them. The rest of this video is, in my opinion, kind of pointless. But I'll have the link to the video in the description. And I implore you to watch the entire thing for yourself. And I hope you see what I see. If you don't, then fine. Tell me about it. I'm interested. Maybe I saw something that wasn't there. Or maybe I'm seeing things that you didn't see. And maybe you saw something that I didn't see. I really would like to hear about it. And I really would appreciate it if you give me a subscribe. Thank you very much. And I hope you have an enjoyable day.